Okay, this is just a quick video update. A year on from owning a Royal Enfield Himalayan, just over 16,000 miles on it now. Most of those Land's End to John O'Groats runs in the UK, and then across America, tail end of last year. The bike's back in the UK now. Not ridden it a lot over winter. This is just a day's ride, end of February, out to Wales and back. So Wales is about a 70-mile ride for me. And then we did about 30-40 miles of dirt roads out in Wales. I was riding with a friend on a Yamaha Tenere 660. Another bike that a lot of people compare the Himalaya to. You know, why don't you just get a second-hand Tenere 660? So it was very interesting to compare the two. You know, for me, the Himalayan, I guess my frustrations always remain on the road when I'm in a rush to get somewhere, 70 miles, and I want to get there as quick as I can because I'm running late, and I just don't have that grunt to overtake a line of traffic or a bit of, a car that's doing 60 miles an hour. That's where I'd like a little bit more than my 24.5 horsepower. But it's when you get to Wales and you start doing these kind of trails, I think that's where the benefit of the Himalayan comes in, and where again I just feel like it's in its comfort zone. Doing these rocky, rutted trails, okay, you've not got a lot of ground clearance, but the bike just is so well balanced. It's so easy to ride on the throttle. It's composed. It's stable. It's planted. And it's got a lot of low down. The weight is carried low. Go on the Tenere 660. That bike weighs similar to a Himalayan, but picking that bike up there as it's laying on top of his leg, not the easiest of thing, mainly because the weight sits quite high on it, and it's quite a top heavy bike. You'll see in a second, I took the Tenere 660 for a ride, and off-road, this will upset some, but I didn't think it was as good off-road as the Himalayan. I thought the suspension was poorly damped and just quite soggy, and it really didn't respond well to hitting the ruts and divots at speed, or at similar speeds to the Himalayan. The Himalayan's damping is so well that it sort of absorbs these type of trails really well, and it allows you to push on, and that sort of sunken weight of the bike makes it very agile, very manoeuvrable, very confidence inspiring. Tenere by comparison just feels that bit more top heavy. It feels that bit more cumbersome, a little bit more wallowy. So if I'm honest, doing a day's trail riding, I prefer the Himalayan to the Tenere. The friend who owns a Tenere, he uses it to commute to and from Wales. So for that majority of road riding, when you just want to get somewhere and you do want the squirt of being able to overtake, then I think that's where the 650, 600cc single engines just have that edge over the Himalayan. Speculation as to what's to come with the next Himalayan. Who knows? Some speculate a 650 Interceptor parallel twin engine going in that Himalayan frame. Personally, I don't think that would work, and I don't think it'd be the right direction, because I think it would lose all this off-road capability by putting that twin in. That twin works perfectly in the Interceptor and Continental. I rode those two recently. But as a trail bike or a dual sport bike, multi-surface bike, I don't think that engine would suit. So to me, a bigger single would be the way forward. Whether they enlarge the current long stroke motor or whether they work on a new one or what. To me, that would be the natural progression of the Himalayan. Keep it very functional in the way that the current Himalayan is. The use of the front racks, the screen, the center stand. The versatility, the low seat height, which I think makes trail riding so much more confidence inspiring on the Himalayan. So that would be my way forward. A lot of people thinking there's going to be a 650 twin engine Himalayan by the end of this year. Personally, I don't think that will happen, and I think it's going to be another year or two at least before we get another Himalayan. I was over at the technical centre over in Bruntingthorpe, the Royal Enfield Technical Centre last week. Quite an insight into the size and scale that Royal Enfield are aiming for. A lot of people working on a lot of projects with big investment and a lot of big ambitions. So I certainly think we're witnessing Royal Enfield on a climb, and the bikes that follow will be, I think, quite interesting and taking them in all different directions. But so I think there's a lot to come from them. In terms of niggles, on the bike, 16,000 miles now. After America, the clack or the clattering noise I got off the bottom end turned out to be a head gasket. So I had to have a head gasket at 16,000 miles under warranty. If it hadn't been under warranty, it would have been about a £260-70 job, which, head gasket failing isn't ideal, but at least on this engine it was very simple for the mechanic to do, and I suspect that it's still assembly issues out in India that are just letting the bike down. Maybe it's poorly torqued bolts on that. slight poor assembly, and it's just letting a few weaknesses come through, which I think will be resolved by the dealers at this end. I've also had the head bearings replaced at the 16,000 mile service. They had started to wear, so they put new bearings in and greased them properly, because they're just not getting greased properly from the factory. I also had wheel bearings at that service as well. It turned out I needed new front wheel bearings. Now at 16,000 miles, with the type of use I've done on the bike, I don't think that's out of kilter really. I had a GS 1200 with similar usage, and they went, I think, at similar mileage as well. So I think it just shows if you're going to use and abuse your bike, you are going to get through basics like bearings. But everything else about the bike is holding up well. You know, engine handling, fit and finish, it's still all good. I think they've got to just sort out those niggles. People are complaining about misting clocks. Mine missed up a little bit, but not enough to bother me. So some people are trying to remedy it themselves. But yeah, if they could just get on top of them niggles, I think it would be good for everyone concerned, really. Certainly not a deal. None of the niggles are deal breakers, because none of the niggles are going to leave you stranded on a long trip, and that's a crucial factor, you know. So that was a good day's trail riding. Good to be back on the bike. Good to test other bikes out alongside the Himalayan, and looking forward to another year on the bike. More Land's End to John O'Groats, and around Ireland 2019 as well. So see you out there. Enjoy your riding. Cheers.